it's Hideout and welcome to the Pantheon, where today, again, Dungeons and Dragons, what a set it is. Well, there's a lot of cards in it anyway. And today we're having a look at a fine young woman. It's Trelasarra, the Trellis area, the Moon Dancer. 2 mana for a 2/2 elf cleric. And look at her, she's got a hand in the moon. Wonderful. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Trelasarra, Moon Dancer, and scry 1. So this is a lovely little Ajani's Pride mage. Really, really nice. Look at that nice sword. Really, really quite cool. And you know, life gain, it is something, isn't it? You know, when you start playing, you think, oh, this is the best thing ever. Because, you know, Ajani's Pride mate, a 2 mana 2/2. By God, it's a 3/3. It's a 4/4. How do we stop this? But as you sort of play more, you know, life gain, it goes to the wayside. It's not the most important thing in the world. But these cards are really cool because it makes you build around them. So if you like these videos, please do subscribe. I lost my buttons there. I'm going to be doing one of these videos for every single legendary creature ever printed. And eventually I'll lose all my hair and go completely bald. I'm most of the way there, to be fair. So without further ado, let's have a look at the top 5. And in at number 5, what have we got? Well, we've already named him. He's Ajani's Pride mate. This is just a legendary version of the Pride mate, and you get a few extras thrown in there for good measure. 2 mana 2/2. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Ajani's Pride mate. Cat Soldier, and the artwork really, really cool. Killing loads of the what are the spark zombie things, Lazotep, I think they're made out of, or something like that. But this is all about things that trigger when you gain life, and Ajani's Pride mate is the classic example of it. Why don't we have, you know, Ajani here? He makes Ajani's Pride mate. So Ajani, Strength of the Pride, 4 mana, 5 loyalty, Planeswalker. Ajani, +1, gain life equal to the number of creatures you control plus the number of Planeswalkers you control. So this is going to trigger our commander and get us a nice scry next extra counter so we can swing in with a big beefy lady. Then -2, create a 2/2 white soldier creature token named Ajani's Pride mate. Seems familiar. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Ajani's Pride mate. Very, very nice. And finally, 0. If you have at least 15 more life than your starting life total, exile Ajani's Strength of the Pride and each artifact and creature your opponents control. Excellent board wipe. And we're going to be gaining a lot of life in this deck. You know, our commander cares about life gain, so we will be gaining that life. Which brings me on to Trudge Garden. If we're going to be gaining life, we may as well get some blockers and big beefy idiots for it. 3 mana for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, create a 4/4 green Fungus Beast creature token with trample. Fungus Beast. Oh my God, what a cool creature type that is. So this is nice, you know, from the sort of incidental life gain we're going to get a couple of tokens, which may trigger a bit more life gain. Oh, I wonder if that's going to be something coming up. And then, very similar, we've got Dawn of Hope. 2 mana for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Then you can pay 4 mana and create a 1/1 soldier creature token with lifelink. So it's going to trigger our commander again and again. Really, really nice. This is cool because you can stack it in a way that before you pay the 2, or when you pay the 2, you can put it on the stack after the scry. So you can scry, oh, do I want this card? Put it on the bottom. If not, if you do, hooray, I'm going to draw it this turn. Very, very cool. But how are we going to gain all this life? Well, in at number 4, we've got Essence Warden. 1 green mana for an elf shaman. It's a 1/1, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. And that isn't just under our control, it's everybody's control. So if our opponents have, you know, a big army of tokens coming in, we're going to gain 1 life for every single one of them. And each of those entering is a different trigger for our commander. So we're going to get scry 1 over and over and over again and get 1/1/1/1/1, and our commander will be absolutely enormous. Really, really cool. And of course, this is the color shifted version of these fine cards over here. Auriok Champions, like the big rare brother of these. 2 mana for a 1/1, protection from a black and red, so lots of removal can't kill this. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain a life. Now, remember that this is a may, so please do remember your triggers, or else, you know, you're just not going to gain the life, and your opponents don't really have to tell you. But then if you're playing that sort of cutthroat magic where, you know, in EDH people are saying, you're not having that 1 life, then you probably should you know, generate some new friends. But then we've got Soul Warden, 1 white mana for a 1/1. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. This is not a May. Hooray. We can't miss that trigger. Really, really nice. And then Soul's Attendant, 1 white for a human cleric. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. Remember your triggers, people. Remember them. But every single time something's coming in, our commander's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're digging through the deck with all of those scries. Very, very nice. Which brings me on to a sort of more one-sided version of it. Prosperous Innkeeper. 2 mana for a 1/1 halfling citizen. It's a little dwarf thing. It's not a dwarf, it's a hobbit sort of thing, I think. When it enters the battlefield, creates a treasure token. So that's really nice because 2 mana, and then next turn you're going to have accelerated ahead, get you to those big plays. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So these 3 are all more limited versions of the cards we've already seen. The ones we've already seen are infinitely better because, you know, in Commander, there's 4 turns in a turn cycle. So we're going to have 4 times as many chances of getting triggers from our opponent. 3 times. Maths. Then we've got Authority of the Councils. 1 white for an enchantment. Creatures you control... Your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you gain 1 life. So that's really nice. We don't get it on our own things, but everyone else's. And we're also crippling sort of if we're against a very aggressive deck, and you know they come in with a big Kraytooth with everything's got haste and stuff like that. Well, they all enter tapped. Ha ha ha! You loser. Then Suture Priest is a great one-sided version of this. 2 mana for a 1/1. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain 1 life. Please don't miss your triggers. Then whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you may have that player lose 1 life. That's really, really nice. Can really cripple them. Keep pinging them to death. Lovely, lovely stuff. Which brings me on to my number 3 pick. And at number 3, we've got Abzan Falconer. Now, obviously, our commander is going to be getting a lot of 1/1 counters. You know, the main sort of crux of this deck is the life gain, but we can play around with those 1/1 counters and really have some great fun, you know. Abzan Falconer, 3 mana for a 2/3 with Outlast, so you can pay 1 and tap it at sorcery speed to put a 1/1 counter on it. And each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has flying. So with all these cards that are gaining us life, our commander is going to be absolutely massive. You know, our opponent's going to be sitting there with a couple of saprolings going, well, I can block. And then you go, no, John, you can't. Because my Abzan Falcon has picked it up and thrown it. It's just, yeah. And now you're dead. So that's a really cool thing that we can do with it. And to be fair, I've always thought this artwork is terrible. I just the look of the man and the dark, muddy colours. I hate the artwork, but it's such a cool card. To go along with this, here's a couple of other 1/1 counter synergy cards. Inspiring Call, 3 mana for an instant. Draw a card for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. And this is the bit I'm more interested in. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. So it's just like Heroic Intervention. You know, it doesn't give Hexproof, but it does give the indestructible. And we're going to draw a card, so it's going to replace itself. Really, really nice. And if, you know, maybe a couple of our other creatures have 1/1 counters on it, through maybe some cards that we're going to talk about in a second, well, this is going to just draw us tons and tons of cards. Loads of value spilling everywhere. Then, why don't we tap our commander for mana? Well, the main reason is probably because we're going to attack our opponent for 20. But we could tap him for mana. Or her. Rishkar Pima Renegade. 3 mana for a 2/2 when it enters the battlefield. Put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. And each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it, or any counter on it, has tapped to add a green. So this is really cool because, you know, yes, we can tap our commander for a green, nice bit of ramp. But with all of the sort of Soul's Attendant sort of things that we've got knocking around, we can put counters on them, and then we can tap them for mana to really accelerate set. Or just put it on Rishkar himself, and, you know, we're going to have a nice big 3/3 that taps for mana. Then, when we're attacking him with our commander, well, let's double the size of it. Galonian Hydra, 5 mana for a 0/0 with trample. Oh dear, not starting out great. It enters the battlefield before 1/1 counts on it. And whenever it attacks, double the number of 1/1 counts on it on each creature you control. Oh my god, what? That's what your opponents will do when this swings at them. And it's got trample. Really, really cool creature, very nice. Which brings me on to Cathar's Crusade. You know, I've talked about maybe going wide with all these little no, I'm not talking about tokens, but all these incidental creatures, they're all 1/1, so they're going to be entering the battlefield. Cathar's Crusade is fantastic for any sort of small army. 5 mana for enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Each of them, they're all getting counters, and then we can tap them with Rishkar. Really, really nice. And then if we're putting on 1/1 counters on, you know, each one of the commander's triggers is a separate instance of it. So Conclave Mentor is a great include. 2 mana for a 2/2. If one or more 1/1 counters would be put on a creature you control, you may put that many +1 1/1 counters on would be put on that creature instead. Oh, I messed that up completely. And whenever it dies, you gain life equal to its power. So this is really cool because it not only does it play into the 1/1 counter sort of sub-theme we've got, it does play into the life gain. You know, if we maybe sacrifice it, it blocks, something like that. It's going to help grow our commander. And finally, we've got the Cleric class. 1 mana for an enchantment class. Are you listening, class? Oh, God. Anyway, if you would gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. So all of our life gain sort of things, you know, we're going to be gaining 1. So we're going to gain 2. Yeah, oh, wow. But that doesn't sound like much, but it does really build up. Then, if you pay 4 mana to get it to level 2, whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. That's excellent because, yes, our commander might die, but with this, we can turn any creature into like an Ajani's Primate, just grow whatever we want, whenever we want. Then we've got 5 mana for level 3. When it becomes level 3, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain life equal to its toughness. Really, really nice bit of reanimation. Just incidental value and some life gain to go along with it. Which brings me on to my number 2 pick. And at number 2, we've got some big payoffs for life gain. It's Blossoming Bogbeast. What a great name. 5 mana for a 3/3. Whenever it attacks, you gain 2 life. Wow. Then, creatures you control gain trample and get +X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Fantastic. This can just overrun, like I was saying, we could have an army of little idiots, but through all the life gain, we can swing in with everything, make absolutely everything enormous. And importantly, it gives our commander some trample. So we're going to be able to get through, you know, past a couple of little tokens, which is good. Then a couple of other cool life gain sort of buffing cards. Nykthos Paragon is a 6 mana 4/6 with Human Soldier. It's not with Human Soldier. It is a Human Soldier. It is not with that. Nah. And whenever you gain life, you may put that many 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Do this only once each turn. Now that bit does really, really suck. But like I was saying, you know, with Essence Ward and things like that, it will trigger on your opponent's turn, so we can use this again on our opponent's turn. So not the end of the world. Then Ageless Entity is a 5 mana 4/4, and it's a mega version of Ajani's Primate. It's an elemental, and whenever you gain life, put that many 1/1 counters on Ageless Entity. So if we gain 20 life, we put 20 counters on this. Really, really cool stuff. And, you know, a lot of the deck is about 1/1 counters being put on because we're gaining 1 life, but occasionally we might gain an absolute metric ton of life. Then a much better version of the Paragon here. 5 mana for the Archangel of Thune. 3/4 with flying and lifelink, and whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Absolutely phenomenal. So much value. You're just going to be churning out 1/1 counters. Your army's going to be enormous. Amazing. Amazing. One of the best cards in the deck. Which brings me on to my number 1 pick. And, you know, we can win the game through combat damage. We can win the game through having a large army and, you know, buffing it and swinging it. But why don't we just test our endurance? You know, do a couple of dumbbell presses, you know, a couple of squats. I'm not going to squat. I've got shorts on. No, but regular shorts, not just boxer shorts. Test of endurance. 1 mana for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 50 or more life, you win the game. Really, really anticlimactic way to win the game. But this commander really leads you into that life gain sort of sub-theme. And this is a great card. And if your opponents don't answer it, well, I sort of just feel it's their own fault. It's just an enchantment. You know, you should be running enchantment removal. And if you play against, you know, your friend's deck regularly, or your friends play against this deck regularly, they're going to know this is in there. So just hold up removal until you remove it. I don't see the problem with this particularly. And when you do win with it, it's like a big story you can tell someone. And it's at the beginning of your upkeep, so you give everyone a chance to attack you. I just think it's a perfectly fine win condition. Similarly, we've got Feladar's Sovereign. 6 mana for a 4/6, Vigilance, and Lifelink. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. So yet again, it gives everyone a turn to, you know, try and deal with it. And then it is a creature. If you're not running creatures removal in your deck, something's gone more wrong. You know, you can't be complaining that a cat beast has just killed you if you're not running removal. Yes, you might have used it on other things, but that's when you just swing at this person and just kill them. You know, I just see no issue with these sorts of cards. Similarly, we've got Angel of Destiny. 5 mana for a 2/6 with flying and double strike. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each gain that much life. Hey, look, it's a group hug deck. Wonderful. And our commander is going to be massive, so we're going to get tons of life off that. Then, at the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 life more than your starting life total, each player Angel of Destiny attack this turn loses the game. So another cool way of just killing someone. But yes, it's a creature. It can be removed. Not that big of an issue. And it's just incidentally an excellent card because it gives, you know, double lifelink. It's like lifelink plus, you know, it's like extra lifelink, isn't it? Then finally, we got Heliod Sun Crown. 3 mana for a 5/5 with Indestructible. It's a god, it's a legendary enchantment creature. And as long as your devotion to white is less than 5/5, it's a creature. Whenever you gain life with a 1/1 enter an entire creature or enchantment, you can roll away 2 mana another entire creature against life. Absolutely tons of words. Very good card. This is really cool because it essentially makes, you know, anything into an Ajani's Pridemate if you really want it to, with all of, you know, sort of life link triggers. But if you want to go infinite and, you know, play Walking Ballista, you can just kill everyone. Give the Ballista lifelink, ping, gain a life, put a counter on it, ping, get a bit of bad. And that is that. So, after I just, you know, descended into madness, like watching a middle-aged man realise his life's not worth living and everything falling apart. It's a cool deck, you know, it is quite cool, you know, so cool card. Very cool commander. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.